Good morning from the Freedom of Information and Privacy Association. I'm Patrick Farnsworth, and this is your Access and Privacy Online news summary for Saturday, May 31st. Nova Scotia is back in the privacy and cybersecurity spotlight as a sophisticated ransomware attack triggers a probe and fallout from Nova Scotia Power's data breach. We have our regular summaries of privacy, access to information, and whistleblower stories from Canada and across the world. And we'll wrap up with FIPA's review of public body practice against public expectations, finding some major gaps in British Columbia. Let's dive in. Nova Scotia Power has confirmed that its recent server breach was the result of a sophisticated ransomware attack, marking yet another serious cybersecurity event in the province. This latest breach disrupted internal systems and exposed sensitive personal data, prompting a federal investigation by Canada's Privacy Commissioner. Nova Scotia Power said that no payment was made to the person or group behind the sophisticated attack. It refused to pay the ransom. However, some experts have criticized how the utility notified customers about the breach. According to the Commission's website, federal privacy law requires notifications to be given as soon as feasible after a company has determined a breach of security safeguards involving a real risk of significant harm has occurred. The breach affects tens of thousands of customers, raising alarm over how personal information is stored and protected by public utilities. It comes on the heels of previous cyber attacks targeting Nova Scotia's health and education systems, making this the third major data compromise in under a year. Meanwhile, in neighboring New Brunswick, a 3-member panel reviewing NB Power's future refused to rule out selling the debt-laden utility. One of the members of the panel is the former Information and Privacy Commissioner for the province. The move has privacy and governance advocates worried, as a sale to private interests could shift accountability and data protection obligations away from public oversight. Final recommendations from the review panel are expected by the end of March 2026. Altogether, these developments suggest a broader crisis in cybersecurity planning and public trust across Eastern Canada's public energy sector. Turning to privacy news from across the country. From Galen Simmons, LGI reporter at the Wilmot Tavistock Gazette. In Wellesley, Ontario, dog kennel owners are requesting exemptions from a new bylaw requiring microchipping of pets. They argue the policy overreaches into private pet ownership and raises data tracking concerns, drawing a line between responsible animal care and invasive regulation. It should be noted that a microchip is not a GPS or tracking device, and it does not store any personal information about the animal or pet parent. A microchip simply transmits a unique number through radio frequency identification when scanned by a microchip scanner or reader. In British Columbia, we continue to see legal battles in British Columbia's patchwork approach to information management in BC's health authorities. A class action lawsuit has been filed over a 2009 Interior Health data breach. The breach involved employee health records and remained unresolved for more than a decade. Plaintiffs say this delay has compounded the damage and violated their long-standing privacy rights. Court documents say the full extent of the hack still hasn't been disclosed by Interior Health in the 16 years since. One employee says her personal information has been used since 2022. Meanwhile, another says in the lawsuits that she only found out about the data breach last month by reading a news article. Staying in BC, the Human Rights Commissioner has released a report evaluating government follow-through on previous recommendations. While some progress has been made, the report highlights troubling inaction on issues related to racial equity and human rights data collection, particularly around surveillance and policing. The Commissioner's Office has made 159 recommendations to public bodies in BC since 2019 in 18 letters to the government and 3 major reports. It found the BC government had implemented 18 of its recommendations and partially implemented 74, while 67 had not been acted upon. According to the office, overall, there has been progress on 58% of the Commissioner's recommendations. Here at FIPA, we can say there is a growing perception and concern that public bodies can disregard not only the recommendations from civil society, but those of independent offices. There is a growing correlation between the well-documented erosion of public trust in public bodies and the ability of bad actors to act badly in public bodies without accountability. In looking ahead to the 2025 G7 summit, scholars are arguing that Canada has a rare chance to lead on AI policy and data governance. With the world watching, they say Canada must push for binding standards that protect human rights while regulating the growing influence of artificial intelligence. Experts say a central priority should be to rally partners around a framework for ethical, accessible, and well-designed datasets, especially in fields like health, climate science, and materials research. News stories informed by whistleblowers and access to information are raising important accountability questions. With a state of emergency declared and wildfires ravaging the prairies in Manitoba's cottage country, residents are calling for formal wildfire management plans after fatal blazes earlier this month. The push comes after documents revealed a lack of coordinated response and gaps in evacuation planning. Since the evacuation, local officials have said they have been working to get timely information out to residents through various channels, mainly social media. The Leicester Beach Association in the rural municipality of Alexander went to officials a few years ago to come up with a wildfire management plan, but the progress has been slow. In Quebec, newly released records show that a Via Rail subsidiary paid a marketing firm $330,000 during its pivot to high-speed rail. Critics question whether that money advanced public transportation goals or padded private contracts without transparency. The contract appears to have been extended multiple times with invoices from October 2023 and January 2025. A spokesperson claimed it was crucial because of the lasting impact the project will have. Meanwhile, from Michael Oleskin, LGI reporter at the Prince Albert Daily Herald in Saskatchewan, the Sask Rivers School Board is touting successes in advocacy and capital planning, following years of FOI-supported pressure on provincial authorities. The areas of focus in the advocacy plan are vulnerable students and support for learning, facilities renewal, school community council relations and communications, ministry and elected officials relations, and the strategic plan and provincial education plan. The board is also highlighting its training in local authority freedom of information protection training in its governance professional development. It's a reminder that public records can power long-term educational improvements, and that ongoing professional development is a key to maintaining access to information literacy. Also in Manitoba, from Maggie McIntosh, LGI reporter at the Winnipeg Free Press, leadership disputes dominate the annual general meeting of the Teachers Union as internal documents revealed dissatisfaction with how workplace complaints and safety protocols have been handled. Multiple allegations have claimed the workplace to be toxic, and after results revealing 60% of employees fear sanction from their bosses, a group of local union executives penned an unusual letter to the provincial executive to urge it to undertake an inquiry to expose whistleblowers. In the United States, a wave of legal and administrative actions continue to reshape privacy protections under Trump-aligned policies. A coalition of hunger and privacy groups has filed suit against the U.S. Department of Agriculture, opposing attempts to collect personal data on recipients of food assistance programs. Advocates warn this could have a chilling effect on access to social supports. The information requested included their names, birth dates, personal addresses, and social security numbers over the past 5 years. The USDA warned that failing to do so may trigger noncompliance procedures. Meanwhile, a U.S. Chief Justice agreed to temporarily pause court orders requiring DOJ to release internal documents, a move that critics say undermines financial transparency in politically connected tech firms. The order came after the Trump administration appealed to the Supreme Court in a lawsuit filed against DOJ by a government watchdog group. Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington argue that DOJ, which has been central to President Donald Trump's push to remake the government, is a federal agency and must be subject to the Freedom of Information Act. In a related development, the FTC has dismissed a lawsuit against PepsiCo, originally filed under the Biden administration, suggesting a rollback of corporate accountability mechanisms now that Trump appointees dominate the agency. A few days later after the lawsuit was filed, President Donald Trump took office, and Democrat Lina Khan resigned. Trump fired Democratic Commissioners Alvaro Bedoya and Rebecca Slaughter in March. Slaughter and Bedoya have sued the Trump administration, saying their removal was illegal. And in West Virginia, the state has implemented new policies for its embattled foster care system, following lawsuits and whistleblower revelations. While officials promise reform, watchdogs remain skeptical about oversight in a system plagued by abuse and data secrecy. While the state plans to increase transparency, they put some of the blame on their predecessors for often withholding foster care information from the public, including stonewalling Freedom of Information Act requests. Internationally, 2 stories caught our eye this week. In the European Union, 4 major adult websites are under formal investigation under new child protection rules within the Digital Services Act. European regulators are examining whether these platforms adequately verify age and block exploitive content, a critical intersection of content moderation, child safety, and digital rights. The investigation comes after the Commission held a public consultation on draft online children protection measures that included proposals for age verification and age estimation methods to block young people from inappropriate content. Officials said the EU is also working on its own age verification app that online platforms can use to verify if a user is over the age of 18 without revealing any other personal information. It will be available by the summer. And in Australia, David McBride, a whistleblower who exposed war crimes committed by Australian special forces, has lost his bid for a reduced sentence. McBride pleaded guilty last year to 3 charges, including theft and sharing with journalists documents classified as secret. He faced a potential life sentence. The court's ruling underscores the growing risks whistleblowers face, even when acting in the public interest. The judges also rejected McBride's argument that as a military officer, he had sworn an oath to Queen Elizabeth II and therefore had a sworn duty to act in the public interest, claiming the oath obliged McBride to discharge his duties according to the law. And finally, FIPA has released the latest findings from our 2025 Access Assessment, measuring how well public bodies in BC are meeting public expectations around their information management. The results? Significant gaps remain between what's legally required, publicly expected, and what's actually delivered, with many agencies falling short in proactive disclosure, timely responses, and transparency. These findings will be part of an upcoming commentary with Spencer Eisen. We will unpack what the data means, why it matters, and how public expectations are reshaping the future of access in British Columbia and beyond. As always, we hope you found today's stories help you stay informed about the latest issues surrounding privacy, information management, and public transparency. To help us keep the mics on, be sure to subscribe through FIPA News Monitoring or consider a donation. Our writer is Sean Fisk. Original music in today's show was composed by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. I'm Patrick Farnsworth, your host and producer. Thank you for joining. A big FIPA thank you to all the contributors, reporters, and outlets that make this podcast possible, and to you, our listeners, who help make this work successful. Stay safe and stay informed.